like this is the first time. It's not your first time, is it?
Is it? It's not. Well, now... Oh, I got to turn the camera around. How do I do that?
Lord, I don't know. You're driving this thing, not me.
I know. How's that? Oh, it didn't flip it up. Hold on.
Hold on.
Like that.
There you go. That's up.
How's that?
There we are.
It takes a while.
It takes two old guys forever to
Am
do
I
this
still
crap.
going? I think we're going.
Are we going? Are you sure?
No. Well,
It says
it
stop.
says
Rush.
stop. So that must mean
That
we're
means
going.
we're still
Okay, so we're going to see if we can get to Fort Apache before we get going to the barbecue place. Ready? So
Oh, yeah.
you just take your foot off.
Are you sure? And this thing's going to drive itself.
That's what they say. Now, like right here,
Oh,
this
Lord.
is interesting. There's no stop sign, but when I was coming across, it stopped at the intersection.
My name is David. If I wind up in one of the lakes out here, it's Phil Reed's fault. It's his self-driving
It's
car.
Elon's fault.
It's Elon's fault. We're going to blame Elon.
I mean, I'm sitting here, I got my thumbs like this.
We already had one guy drive into the waterway down here.
I believe it.
It was great. He just got good and drunk one night and went down and turned it upside down.
Stay in between the white lines.
There you go. We had to put them on there just for self-driving cars like yours.
Look at that. So it kind of, like right up here, which way?
Well, you can go either way. Let's see if it does it right. Let's see if it goes straight. Oh, no, we're going to go on the paved road.
Yeah.
Teslas don't do dirt roads.
So I don't know, this is a couple years ago, the Mackeys were down here.
Yep.
And I thought, David, he's somewhere around here. Oh, David's in Supply?
Yeah.
Well, Supply is Brunswick County, and Brunswick County is
southwest.
So that she's telling us where she's going.
Yep.
And yeah, Brunswick County's big, and Supply is a large area.
There is no downtown.
I think I
Supply.
texted you or something, and the next thing you went,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm on the north side of the Intercoastal." You're like 3 miles away.
Yeah, it was like I'm right down the street where I'm a mile by water. Okay, that's cool.
There you go.
You need to tell them the surfboard story.
Oh
You gotta tell
yeah.
them that story.
I ran into Grumpy Dave accidentally one day. I got on the
Not Grumpy Dave,
not
Christmas
Grumpy
Dave.
Dave, but like, what are you
Clark
doing on my
Griswold
dock?
Dave.
Dock, get off my lawn! I took the e-foil down one morning. Yeah, I think, and I just
There was nobody on the water.
No,
it was
it's
right
quiet.
before Christmas.
and got off the e-foil, turned it over, was pulling myself up on the dock, and David comes out.
Can I help you?
May I help you? I said, well, I'm coming over for a cup of coffee.
No, I asked you. I said, "Is your battery dead?" And you said,
that's
"No, I'm
right.
just looking for a cup of coffee." And I'm like, "Well, I'll be damned."
Excuse me? And I said, Dave, it's Phil.
Which is why you see me with glasses on now. 'Cause
I
it's
know.
like-
We could switch places on the way back, I think.
we had a damn ride though. That was pretty fun.
That was good. I got coffee and
and I have video proof of it
chatting
too.
the missus.
Yeah, we have video proof of you riding that full, and so it was pretty funny. You actually
took
got up
it-
ahead of steam and off
We
the
had
road.
the round table event
Yep.
for it was last week. We had 29 registered, 22 showed up because things changed at the last minute. And
Always.
Brian Mackey, when I called him and asked if he'd consider coming, he said, "Are you bringing the e-foil?" I said, yes. And he said, "Okay, I'll come." He did. It was good.
But think about what you're doing right here. I mean, you and I started. I'm gonna tell everybody who's watching, if all one of you. I'm gonna tell you what happened. Phil was my trainer, right? He taught me Revit. God, how long ago was that? That was
2002.
2002.
2002. Look, somebody's just run out the
So my
street
Granite Road was
and it's slowed down. That's
it's an
crazy.
amazing car, right?
It's still kind of going a little slow.
Well, it's only 30.
I would say it was probably 2002. I joined in 2001. I don't know if it was before or after the acquisition. Was it Autodesk owned by that time?
It was right before it because we
So
started
February
becoming a
2002.
reseller right around 4.5, somewhere around there,
Yeah.
whatever version that was. And so we were actually getting ready to go to Waltham to get trained.
Right.
And so myself and
Beautiful
one of my
office
colleagues.
space.
It was a riot. So we get up there, and what's the guy's name that he was one of the vice presidents or something. I can't remember what his name was.
So it could have been Dave Lamont.
It wasn't Dave.
It might have been Dave.
I'll think of it in a minute.
I mean,
'cause
Hunter would have been there. Dave Heaton would have been there. Dave was in the He was leading the consulting team.
Yeah, it wasn't Dave either, but they came out and told us right when we were in the middle of training, just want to let you guys know we've been bought by Autodesk.
Oh, that would have been, yeah.
And so it was a riot. We're all sitting there looking at each other with dumb looks on our face, and I'm like, well, I'm an architectural desktop guy. I don't know how this is going to go.
Right.
And then the rest of the day, it kind of went off topic into, you know, what was wrong with architectural desktop and why Revit was better and all this stuff. And the first thing I asked him was, where's the MEP?
Yeah.
And then it started a whole cascade of going down and
Whole can of worms.
following that. So now, if you want to find out why I'm so messed up at teaching Revit, you get to blame my friend here because he was teaching me architectural first and how it worked and work sharing and all that good stuff. And we were working with Little and Associates back in Charlotte, and we just were having a ball.
They were an early adopter.
It was a blast doing that stuff.
And Chris France
Chris, yeah.
I just spoke to Chris recently. He's over at AECOM, living in South Carolina, living the dream. Yep.
I didn't know he had left Advanced 2000. When did he go to AECOM?
I don't know how recent it was, but I looked him up online and saw that he had a name change.
Oh,
so there you go.
Love Chris, man. He was awesome.
But I think he's down around Isle of Palms or something in South Carolina.
That
we're all moving to the coast.
Yeah, we're all moving to the coast, right? We're trying to.
You know, Marty's in Calabash.
No kidding.
Marty Rosemaneth.
Oh my God.
They started in North Myrtle Beach and then ended up in Calabash, about 20 minutes away. I wanted to catch up with him this week and get together and chat with what he's doing at Schema. And he's just too busy, and they're getting ready to go out of town, so it's not going to work this trip. But if we can get you and Marty and the Mackeys,
oh my God,
for dinner,
that would be an event.
Awesome.
That would be an event. We need a bigger. Well, you can always come hang out on the deck. We got the new bar.
Got a nice big deck.
We got the big deck. We got the big bar. You know, we'll take one for the team. So
yeah,
it's kind of funny though. I mean, we actually, I don't know if you knew this or not, but we actually designed an Uber Skyport.
A what?
An Uber Skyport.
An Uber Skyport?
Yep. We actually, as part of an initiative.
A drone thing?
No, this was full-on flying Uber cars.
Turn right onto
And so we actually were working. I can't remember.
Don't tell me anything I don't need to know about.
No. This was been out years ago. It was in a contest that we have, and I actually mentioned it at a couple of my AU classes. But we were talking about how transportation is changing and how smart cities work, and how we needed to start thinking differently. Because you got to remember, when you and I started, this kind of technology.
Oh, look at this! Like
pipe
we're
dream.
sitting here, it's going to wait. That car, I don't think it's going to pull out with that car coming.
We're coming. Let's see
It'll
how fast it accelerates. Here we go.
You know what it'll do? It's not the 0 to 60 that's fun. It's the 40 to 100.
Yeah, that's when my hair flies back.
So you guys designed this Uber drone port?
Well, it wasn't a drone port. It was a full-on piloted cars.
Oh, piloted.
But it could be self-piloted as well too. You know, really before Tesla got into doing this, or they were either developing it at that point. But it was a really cool feature because you think about the maintenance and everything that we were doing on roads, and if we could start moving, you know, short distance traffic haul with VTOL type technology.
You go up and over and down.
And down instead of having to have all this other infrastructure. You know, especially in cities and places like that where you already have congestion, it was going to be a great idea. But the biggest problem was, how do you handle that aircraft and have it, you know, non-carbon fuel type stuff? How do you do the battery packs and everything?
This car isn't, the Cybertruck's crazy, like it's 9,000 pounds. This car's 2 tons. It's not, I think it's slightly less, or it's on par with a Volvo XC60.
That's not bad.
So it's not crazy heavy, but if you're trying to lift it up straight up, it's heavy.
Oh yeah.
Trying to do lighter than air flight.
So, and that's one of the logistics things that we were looking at, is that how do we engineer around that technology to account for, you know, temporary maintenance, access, egress, you know, all those good things. And so I'll try to send you some pictures of it. We had some great public.
Can we post them?
Oh yeah,
after?
absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely, we'll post them afterwards. But you know, like I said, you think about what we're in right now and where we were when we started just 25 years ago, right, or 22 years ago, and how much that technology has changed and how it's forcing us to alter how we design, how we manage our designs, all that good stuff. It just make you think. By the way, there's saltwater shanty. Mark that on the map.
Saltwater shanty has amazing banana ice cream.
No, they have a Woodford bourbon ice cream. I swear to God, with wet caramel nuts.
That's good.
It is to die for. It's just like, you're not going to get drunk off of it, but
no.
It's an amazing.
Lee is wonderful.
And the woman who owns the place gets mad at me every time because I go up and say,
She's great.
I I asked her, I said, can you put chocolate syrup on mine? And she goes, why are you ruining this for me?
Oh, no. We went over, Carrie and I went there this week, or last week, it all runs together, and asked her to do a milkshake. And she said, I'm not turning my North Carolina grass-fed ice cream into soup.
In the soup.
And I said, well, what if you put Kahlua in it? She went, well, maybe. But she didn't.
It's a special kind of ice cream. What is it that they call it? It's like a shotgun blend or something, or...
They make it all there. There's some other places in Holden Beach. It says homemade, and when I stopped and asked, they said, well, it's homemade in Wilmington. Right. This ice cream,
they make it.
It's
there.
Homemade there.
Yeah, they make it right there.
And they're polite. You sit out in the garden under blue lights. It's fantastic.
And we run into people that we know there, and so we have to leave and go somewhere else.
Yep.
You know, so this is the old ferry road, and what's really cool about this is that it's actually 1 block over from here, but you come down this road, and you used to have to get a ferry to get on the island.
Yeah.
And North Carolina went through a whole bunch of things where they had these swinging bridges, which was originally at the end of this
where
road.
they'd rotate. They were on a center.
They would rotate.
Yep.
You know, they had all that good stuff, and so they took that out and put in what is probably the most interesting bridge in the state of North Carolina, because you go up, you make a right turn, and you go down.
Oh yeah, that's the 1986 concrete bridge.
And they did not put anything other than that short curve up that bridge that was 18 inches tall.
They had to come back later.
They came back a couple of years ago and put the metal rails on top of it to make it 42.
I had a friend that jogged over the bridge, and he said never again. It was terrifying.
It was terrifying.
He'll do it now that there's a higher railing, but he said after that first jog, he thought, my center of gravity is below my knees. If anything happens, I'm going right over the edge.
My wife, she's not terrified of anything. I mean, she jumped out of airplanes, right? And she's a perfectly good airplane. But going over that bridge made her nervous, because she's like, man, you need to. And I have a tendency not to pay attention while I'm driving, which is why you're driving. While the car's driving.
While the car's driving, I can pay attention to you.
And so she's like, I can't ride over this bridge with you. But she didn't like driving over it either.
So I'm gonna turn the camera around and let you guys see Fort Apache. So let me take over self-driving. Then I gotta do this. Okay. So it's turned around.
Watch out for the school bus. There's the old highway patrol car.
And I don't know how to do the focusing and stuff.
We'll see if it'll pick
If you guys go online and look up a podcast called Varnumtown. Oh, there's a podcast called Varnumtown, and they talk about a guy named Dale Varnum.
Yep.
This is Dale Varnum's fever dream. And I'm just showing you a piece of it because the camera's kind of pointed like that. So
you can take it over there and just show him.
there you go.
He's an awesome guy, but this was his.
I think it was his
project.
dad's junkyard.
And so it's really funny. You get the true and amazing story of the local legend, Crazy Dale.
Crazy Dale Varnum.
And he just took all these old cars and any crap that he could find anywhere. Signs from old businesses.
It goes back there a couple of acres.
Yeah, it's huge. And he's got a truck full of Sky vodka bottles, which would have been a lot more interesting if they were full.
And toilets.
Yeah.
And an old piano and mannequins.
And so, yeah, you want to come here at Halloween. This place is awesome. I mean, just come in here.
Yeah, there's a whole backstory to Dale and Varnumtown.
And he actually has this bus set up like a meth lab. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah, he's a character.
Well, he despises drugs, and so this is all an anti-drug thing here. But it's just really cool looking now. Where did he get all this stuff?
All this stuff.
And it's not, don't call it stuff, it's really memorabilia. So make sure you get that straight.
Ready?
Yep, we're ready.
Oh, let me do this. Oh, let's wait for this car to go past. Okay.
Here we go.
So, the Varnumtown podcast goes into all the backstory, because allegedly the shrimp boats here in the 80s started laying out lights and picking up bales of weed.
Okay.
In the 70s. And people started paying off their shrimp boats and buying new cars, and that raised suspicions. And then, according to the podcast and allegedly, Dale Varnum ended up meeting with Pablo Escobar, and they switched from weed to cocaine. and nobody suspected little Varnamtown, North Carolina.
Oh yeah, I have to tell you, I think we're going back to Fort Apache again.
No. It's going to go to Smoked Restaurant.
Turn left
Okay.
onto Stanbury Road Southwest.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see if it's going on Stanbury. It wants us to make a left up here. See, I don't always trust this technology.
I know. And it'll ask you every once in a while to
Now
apply.
turn left onto Stanbury
Yep.
Road
It wants us to go
Southwest.
left.
No, I'm going to take over.
We're going to go
Now let's
straight.
just do this.
Well, here, I can pop us into Smoked.
There you go.
It's still trying to figure out where we're going. This is a riot.
Let's go to, and this is where it's confusing, because I want to stop looking at the road I'm driving right now. I want to change
You should be able
where
to
we're
pick
going
it.
to. Like, I don't want to go here, so how do I do that and not do that? Let me
Shouldn't
look
you
at the
just
whole-
pick Smoked and that'll
Yeah, if I want to go there, or do I end the trip? Oh, I wonder if I can edit the trip. Edit the trip, okay.
and now go to Smoked.
Oh yeah, I can take that off and do that.
1,000
There we go. And we haven't hit anybody.
Not yet.
Not yet, but that's what happens.
There we
in
go.
full
So
drive.
now it's back in the road. Get off of that bumpy red thing. So, have you submitted any sessions for AU?
Yes.
How many?
I submitted 5 this year. I did 2, what I call
Would you
people.
really teach all 5?
No. Well,
Okay.
no. But
But you're trying to find out where the interest
So-
is, and
oh yeah. Well, the little known fact is this will be my 20th consecutive AU, and it's probably going to be my last one. You know, and it's not that I don't like teaching there, but I'm getting to that point that I want to get my summers back now that I'm down here.
yeah,
Because AU, I don't know if people know this, but AU is a very, it takes a lot of work. It's very intensive.
I would say 80 hours. 40
Mine-
hours is a minimum, and 80 could be reasonable. So you got to figure out a week of your time more.
Mine averages
do one
between 400
session.
and 500 hours.
It's a lot of work, and those of us who get to go and observe, it's a lot of fun, and it's still tiring sometimes. But if you have to go and enjoy the good time and teach classes, it can be exhausting. You
Yeah,
have to really pace yourself.
And last year I was looking at it because Terry went with me, and we were back in Vegas again, which we enjoy going there. We've always had a ball going there, but we were right there before the race, so it was a little bit crazy. But again, we still had a great time, and so the problem I ran into is because of the shortened event, the time frame, I couldn't interact like I like to, because AU is about the relationships. It's
Yeah,
about the people that we meet. I mean, because we meet there every year, right?
Yeah.
You know, we always run into people that we know. We go to dinner. We have a good time. You know, I've done this with the Mackeys and Matt Dillon and Paul Alvin and those guys for years. But it's more of about going and enjoying the event. So I'll still be working as a speaker mentor, still involved with the Expert Elite program. But I did 5 of them this year, and 2 of them are talking about.
What are the classes?
There's people, process, and technology, a reality capture story. And that's where I'm bringing in my nephew, who founded a program called Vets to Drones,
Yep.
where he
Called
takes
what?
Vets to Drones.
Okay.
He's a part owner of a drone business, but he actually is taking vets and first responders that might have PTSD or something like that need a career, and he's teaching them on this nonprofit's dime how to be a drone pilot.
So this is career change.
Career change,
Stop doing
life
that.
change.
Okay.
Let me give you a different path than what you're used to in the military,
right.
first responder. And it actually started when they were using drones to research fires out in California.
Right.
And so he got this program started. And so we're going to do a section about the people that can be involved in drone technology.
Send me a link for that.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a good one. And then
Yeah.
we got Matt Steckun, who's going to jump on with us and talk about Send-To. What do we do after we to process this stuff? How do we actually work in that environment and get a point cloud to where it's at a useful point, so that it's something that we can use more frequently in the designs that we use? And in the last part, I'm going to talk about how we're incorporating products like Send-To and point cloud technology, how we work with it in the cloud, things to look out for. That's really what we're going to be talking about. So that one, we're really hoping we get that one. But
Okay.
we're also doing a couple.
And what's the
more.
name of that session?
People, process, and technology, a reality capture story.
Okay.
And then got to remember the rest of these, but I did one on Revit MEP about taking your Revit to the next level. Last year,
What? Okay. Wait. You're going. What's the common? Give me 3 common things people misuse Revit MEP.
3 things that people misuse Revit.
How they
MEP
misuse
for.
it, that you go, these are things like right out of the box.
They draft with it.
Okay.
They draw lines where they need to be drawing objects.
Like for plan? Like just to kind of plan it out? Or they just draw everything with lines?
They draw everything with lines.
So they don't try to actually model it?
Like they think, okay, I've got a receptacle. I always do that as lines before. They didn't put the actual receptacle in.
As an object?
Right. And
Okay.
so that's a common problem is they try to CAD it, and you can't CAD Revit, especially MEP. Because
Do you think they're doing it just because it's their first project and they've opened Revit and they just got to get the drawings out?
I was told I had to use Revit.
Okay, so
I
they're
hear that
using
a
it.
lot. Yeah.
Okay.
But what happened was last year when I was doing my class on perfecting the system, or charging your Revit MEP, was I get so many of these titles. I've done about 80 of these. So when we did the session last year, it was the first time I had an epiphany. It was the first time that the majority of the class, when I asked them if they were using Revit, they raised their hands, and they didn't raise their hands. They shot up, and they were confident.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there going, we've accomplished something, because in less than the scope of a generation, we've changed all these people's careers.
They
to
weren't
focus
sheepish
on
about it.
They weren't sheepish about it. They owned it, and they were proud about it. And then one guy called me out, and he said, "You're not doing advanced enough stuff for us." And I'm like, "Well, okay."
Yeah.
So we're going to do that, and those are the 2 main ones that I'm looking at. Got a couple more. We can post them up there later, but really just trying to get some common ideas and work with Autodesk to see what they want. We're going to do one on bridge for Autodesk Docs.
Okay.
How do we actually leverage that on a project? That one would be a good one to do as well too. And so, just things that I think people will find interesting.
Do you think you're saying it's your last year? Is it? I mean, you're just saying it's your last year to attend?
To present.
Okay, last year to present.
Right. I'm going to still be involved with the mentor program.
And you're just getting off the ladder rung and letting other people take over, or do you feel like it's just?
Well, I think the crowd. When you look in the crowd, I could probably count out 50 people in my classes that should be up there instead of me.
Okay.
And so what I want to do is start working with other individuals that have been coming to the classes for a long time, that are committed, that can step up and share their passion, why they want to be on there.
And you'll mentor them?
Yep, absolutely. And one other good thing that we've been doing, last year was the first time that Martin Schmidt and Ian Malloy got us all together, and we collaborated on our classes at AU.
You taught together, or
We
you
didn't
just
teach
collaborated on what you were going to talk about?
We submitted our classes. They got accepted based on where they were in the process, and we tried to put together an MEP picture of all of our classes about how to utilize the tools. And honestly, it was one of the smartest things that we ever did, because somebody, as we got done with one class, we had a progression that would say, from here you need to go to this.
Okay.
And see the next level. And it actually made it work really well.
So there was a sequence to it.
Right. And Martin and Ian did a great job putting it together. We had a lot of good people like Sean Froon on there.
Martin's been there a long time.
Oh, yeah.
He was there at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and I've known Martin. Martin and I have been friends forever. And so it's like, it was really cool to put something together like that. So hopefully we can do something like that again this year.
With Martin and?
With Martin and Ian and anybody else who's doing MEP. There's about 12 of us, I think, total, that were doing classes either by ourselves or in combos. So it was a lot of fun. And actually got to go see those classes too, so that was actually pretty cool.
Oh, you attended their classes?
Yep. Got to go see them.
All right, so we've covered AU for a bit. What else is interesting?
Oh, what else is interesting? Actually did AuggieCon.
Yeah, how did that go? Brian Mackey did that. We came down a day before. I picked him up in Charlotte at the airport. It was a Wednesday.
Yep.
Drove down to the cottage.
Well, so he was broadcasting from here?
He did the AuggieCon from here. He got up in the morning and went for an e-foil, did his AuggieCon.
Oh, right.
And
I have to give him credit.
In the afternoon, went for an e-foil, and then we left on Friday for Florida for the roundtable event.
I will definitely give him crap.
So how did that go?
Well, actually, I proposed a class, but mine didn't get picked. Somebody like John Mayer, he's so much better than me, right? So we're trying to get these guys up there, and then I got a call from Robert Green. And Robert and I, he's another person I've known for 20 some odd years, but I've never had a chance to present with him before. And so it was myself and R.K. McSwain and Shelby Smith and what's the one other guy that we had there? I'm forgetting his name right now. But Robert had a session called Calling All Technology Managers. And it was really interesting because when I got the outline for
I was
it,
a little bit nervous of those cars coming, but it handled it. We're still here. It's good.
Yeah, Phil's squirreling right.
I'm listening, but I'm also watching that large camper being pulled by a large truck, and it just let those cars go by.
We're in Brunswick County. Turn signals and stop signs don't mean a damn thing
optional.
out here. They're optional. So
Okay, so you didn't present, but you watched some other ones.
Robert asked me to come in, and he sent me the outline, and it said it was all about standards. And I'm like, no, you need to expand your view. And so when we got started talking about it, we talked about, what are the things to look out for, and what are some of the problems, how do you deal with, problem staff, that kind of stuff. What is it that you encounter as a technology manager? And we finally got to a point, and I said, we need to stop worrying about CAD standards, right? Because we had somebody that was on the session that was talking about what should he be teaching somebody in terms of CAD standards. And I said, you don't need to teach them CAD standards. We already have established CAD standards. We got the AIA, we got companies that have
which
CAD
one?
standards. Yeah, we NCS 6, for example, last one, which hasn't been changed for how many years, right? And so I started talking about, as a technology manager, you have to broaden your view. You got to start thinking about more things like LOD. That's infinitely more important for level of development.
Than a CAD standard. Then how much detail you put in at what point in the project.
Right, because the deliverable.
Or how much information.
Yeah, the deliverables, the model now. It should not be the sheet, right? And we're still so dependent on a sheet for project delivery.
We had a roundtable session led by Harlan Brum.
Yep.
The guy of the guy.
Yep.
On next generation tools and deliveries. We had 22 people in that session. I think we had 44 opinions. There's no like settled consensus on what the delivery is.
So I did a class on that last year at AU. It was about your digital evolution and becoming digitally enabled. And so my first topic was, I said, it's time to get rid of the sheet.
Yeah, but how do you agreed. As long as you have instructions, I don't mean information, it's instructions. And sometimes two-dimensional instructions are clear. I use the example of a subway map. If I don't know where I am and I'm trying to get somewhere, if you show me a three-dimensional subway map, it doesn't make sense. At that point, I want a line that is colored that shows me where I want to go. So sometimes I don't want a model, but I do want instructions.
I don't want a line. I want an animated GIF that tells you where to go.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
Right.
Right.
And so the way I presented it was, okay, I've got this 3D model of the Novozymes.
Geometry plus information plus...
Right.
Yeah.
And so I actually did a fly-through, and my premise was based on shared views, right? So what we want to have are bookmarks within a 3D model that says at this point there is a view created.
This is a narrative.
That you need to reference, that it can also follow construction sequence, right? And so it can be independent in the model. It can tag in other models, however you want to do it, but that shared view...
So you're not saying we don't need sheets. We need views.
We need shared views that are out there.
All right.
But you can't get rid of the sheet unless your technology involves delivering the model in that shared view.
We just passed a police going the other direction.
And he didn't stop us. And we're sitting here waving our hands, right?
I kind of looked over and thought, should I take...
Put your hands back on the wheel.
Just put him down. All right.
And so that just...
It's hard because I don't see how the bureaucracy is going to let go. If your job in Charlotte, when you're going through plan check, is to check for that egress path or to check for any other code requirement that's written as instructions in 2 dimensions, that's how the information has been historically captured. There's going to be a lot of resistance with how you memorialize the approval process.
Do you know how close we are to that?
No, I have no idea. I think sometimes there's a bicyclist. Oh,
look on the back. Look on the back. The dog on the back.
On the back of the bicycle.
Did you see it?
Yes.
No seatbelts on that dog.
No, and it was like a rat terrier. But the car
No, it's a border collie.
The car kind of moved over and then stayed off the yellow line, but it kind of moved over and went back.
So I'm disappointed because the car didn't take a picture of
we don't have. I should have tapped
dog.
it and we could have got the bicycle dog quickly, but I'm not that fast.
Should have gotten that one. But either way, I think the technology.
You think we're getting closer?
I think we're a lot closer, and it's not going to be in my generation because number one, we're a bunch of cranky old guys.
No,
right?
but the thing is, you're an engineer, and so I think you're used to dealing with reasons that certain things are being done, there's a lot of, I don't want to say irrationality, but there's a lot of emotional decision making for architects. And so I don't know how easy it's going to be to communicate the emotion without, well, think about music. You could play it, so you can listen to music. You could write the letters. You could write the notes down. You could write it. And if you're someone who's not, if you don't play an instrument, you don't know how to read sheet music, you probably need the performance. Whereas other people, if they don't, if they're facile, if they play instruments, read sheet music, then maybe sheet music is fine. So I don't know how architect.
But why can't you put a voice tag on it?
Well, yeah.
Why can't you have an intelligent tag? Just like we do markups in Autodesk Docs right now, and issues tracking. Why can't I have that stuff associated with an intelligent view? And not only that, too, I'm a big fan of nested hyperlinks.
Right. So you can still have the two-dimensional information, but just don't embed it in the model. You can link to it because somebody's already figured it out.
Well, and when we get to the CDE, when the data comes out of the models anyway, that's coming. The fact that programs like Revit and Inventor, and even Bentley products like Open Buildings, Open Rail, they need to be faces to a database, right? They don't need to be the database itself, and that's where the paradigm shift is.
So it's a collection of links?
It's a collection of interfacing 3D components to data components.
Okay.
And with tools like data exchanges, which Sean Froome did a fabulous class on that last year at AYEAR.
What's the name of the class?
I don't remember the exact name, but it was about data exchanges in MEP and pulling out portions of a model like an entire system, right? And then not being able to edit that system, but being able to navigate it, go around, kind of like you do in Navisworks right now and in the viewer, where you go and grab a pump, you get the details about the pump, and then have a nested hyperlink that says, here's the specs that go along with that pump.
Are you a fan of the design engineer putting in something that is very good enough, which is a Harlan Brum comment from the round, very good enough, and then the person who's doing the manufacturing creates the next level of detail and context?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's talk to Matt Stacconi about it. When we did our architects versus engineers session in New Orleans a couple of years ago, he got up there and told us that we were all messed up. He didn't use those words. He used a lot more graphic words, but he said we were just a mess because we spent so much time over modeling in the design phase when we really needed to look at kind of like how
a very good enough placeholder,
a placeholder that can be handed off to the manufacturer who can fabricate the part based on the requirements,
right,
and then simply swap that part out. And with informed delivery coming on Revit between Inventor right now, I think that's something that's going to make that whole process a lot easier.
Right.
And that's an example of how you replace that workflow.
Now I'm interested in what's going to happen because we need to merge lanes. Is it going to let this guy go first?
You've got to get ready for that brake. It's not doing it.
Look, it's red. It's not going to go over.
It's going to let us go. Oh my God, we didn't go.
It actually did it. I thought he was going to kind of go quickly, and then it waited put on the blinker, but then the blinker had that little red, there's a red shade on the camera view from the car. It slowed down and went over. Yeah.
It even showed you the car.
I know.
It's like, oh God, I'm going to be lazy in one of these.
Don't show one of these to the missus.
Oh, no, Lord.
I had a chat with someone today that's looking to purchase a car, and the only thing I didn't like about it is it took me a little while to get used to, number one, how to pass other cars and not go too fast. And the other thing was not having any sense of speed from the lack of an engine. It's really about that. And also the regenerative braking is a little unfamiliar at first because you don't so much use the brake, you just let off the gas or the accelerator or whatever we'll call it.
Gas is right. I understand it.
So we're going for barbecue.
Oh gosh, I love this place.
Smoked restaurant in Supply, North Carolina is honest to goodness barbecue. I think they care. I haven't been there ever, and I went a couple of weeks ago, and I have been back almost every week.
They have an amazing beer selection too.
Yes.
And so but it's a great place. The same people who own Wing and Fish own Smoked, that also own OIFC. So it's the same group that owns all of that.
I've never been in there and had it empty.
Well,
it's great.
They're great places, and they've taken over the poorhouse here too. So it's kind of like we have the OIFC block.
We're getting the block.
Now.
I'm wondering how it's going to take this curb cut, because this is not a very okay.
Now
I don't
your
know
destination
if I'm
is
going
on
to
the
take over.
Let's see.
It's looking for the
Come on.
curb cut.
Come on,
I
where
don't
is
want
it?
to scratch the rims.
Where is it? Oh my God, we made it!
It did it.
We didn't hit anything.
So we'll turn around.
Wait, there's a brick. Oh, sorry. We're smoked.
And
Awesome.
I'll turn off that and turn on this.
Well, I'm gonna close you one more thing on the views and do.
Your
AI
hope
is
for
AI is
future.
going to play a big part in this. Okay, and we're working on a project right now that does AI with specifications. Right? How do we let Revit go out and find the specifications that are needed when I place a piece of equipment?
How do you let Revit find them? Not, okay.
And so
Not
that's,
how do you assign them, but even how do you search for them?
So if you're looking to get into AI, I think that's a great start point, because it's not a complicated task. You're not asking it to design. You're asking it to do the research for you.
Right.
And go and find it based on the large language model that knows where the specifications are.
If you don't know, how do you know that what you're finding is legitimate?
You still have to check it.
Okay.
Still got to validate it.
But it's a way to gather information. Well, that's what we do now anyway. We gather stuff and then we go through and check it.
Right. It's a labor task.
So it's not a task. You're not using AI because you're an unskilled person or unfamiliar person. You're using it as a skilled person to do earnest data gathering.
Right. And to remove it, because when you look at labor costs, what are you going to do? You don't necessarily want to hand it off to somebody who has no knowledge about what the specs
You're still going to
should
have
be.
to check it.
You still have to check it. But when you look at labor cost, I have a million things I would have other people doing right now than what they're doing.
Okay.
And so in order to free them up to get into better design quality, to more comprehensive design quality, to better collaboration, those things are all important. And to me, they take on a lot higher importance than having somebody flip through a daggum book.
So that's your precedence gathering.
That's
Just
my
go ahead and
precedence gathering.
All right.
And so shared views, AI intelligence for research, that kind of stuff. And then we have this cool car that tells us that it's possible.
It tells us that something's possible.
And Phil didn't kill us.
No, I didn't. And now we're going to go get barbecue.
We're going to go get barbecue.
And we'll see you at AU.
You'll see it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good to see you, friend.